I guess security is the feeling I got from it. It just was it was a wonderful place to live, and it has broken their hearts what's happened to it. The overpass, I mean Route 2 cutting right through the middle of town and just wrecking the town. And what has happened when it started to go downhill, and now, it really, there's a sadness you hear. After we watched the pictures the other night at Veterans Hall, there was a woman sitting across from me who had lived there, and Jean O'Dell, Liddy Lemire's daughter, sitting next to me, and they were saying, it was just so nice. I mean, Victoria described, and we saw a picture of it, the whole town it was kind of open in comparison to what it is now, and it had grass and a sidewalk and a white picket fence the whole length of the town there, and these lovely old gas lights, and you just got the feeling of just a beautiful, a part of the United States that hardly exists anymore. I mean, it's really something, and it hasn't been that long since it went. I feel it for the people. I really do. Because any pictures that they've shown me, I'm going to Victoria's tomorrow afternoon to see pictures. If you wanted to go, you could go with me. My husband was going to go, and he's decided not to. So I'm sure she'd be happy to have you come instead. 2 o'clock, if you're available then.
Early dismissal day. Come up here.
But to hear firsthand, she's a very verbal lady.
Where does she live?
Right in town. Do you know the yellow house that looks better than any other house on the street? I mean, many of the houses now are being reconditioned by new people who are moving into them. But this one is larger. It was the state senator's house. It's lovely inside. I mean, you enjoy going in. You go into this lovely entryway, and on the right is this dark paneled dining room. And on the left-hand side is the living room with the fireplace and columns dividing it. And their family built the house. Yeah, it's very nice.
All right, well, tell me. I don't know which house you're talking about.
Okay. You know where Ziggy's?
Yeah.
Okay. And you go in there and you sort of come to a dead end at the post if you don't bear left.
Yeah, the street bears down.
You know where Ziggy's is? There's like this. 2's over here. 2 is over here. And on this side it's Main Street.
Yeah.
Okay. You go down this side. And Ziggy's is here. The old post office is right up here. And the road kind of bears left. Well,
1740s or 50s. You see, that was before people came here.
That was the Brimmers?
Yes.
And they really did live up there because there's a
Oh,
Brimmer
yeah.
farm down here.
Well, that's where they came back to later.
Ah, all right. Because somebody thought that they had it mismarked that it was up there.
No.
It really was down here.
The father and mother and the boys lived on the back road from our house to Pownell. I don't know if you know that road.
I know it, yeah.
Well, that's where they lived, and that's where the historical marker is, on that road.
So that's where the massacre was, back there.
That's the Indian Massacre Road.
That's
is
right.
What they still call it.
Okay.
And then
One person was killed.
One person.
one boy was
And
killed,
another one carried
and
off.
another two, I think, were taken to Canada. And then the father and mother left there. I think they were unhappy with that. And they went south someplace. I don't know where they went.
Did they
And
ever
then they
recover
came
the boys?
back to the place between here and Berlin.
Mhm.
And the boys eventually got free.
Yes, I heard they did.
And through the efforts, I think it was of Philip Schuyler, they got to Albany and eventually found their folks who had come back here. So this is the place they came back to.
To this southern.
But
South Petersburg.
where all the action, where all the bad action took place was
Right.
up in North
Bad
Petersburg.
Wasn't quite the massacre that was in, what's the name of the town in Massachusetts that really had it? It's right over-
Deerfield?
Deerfield. yes.
Deerfield.
Yeah.
And well, Petersburg entered into that too, into the Deerfield massacre way back then. The Colonel Williams from Williamstown, Colonel Ephraim
Yeah.
Williams, took his men to Deerfield. And while they were gone, the French and the Indians came to Williamstown and sacked Williamstown and took the old men who were left there and the women and took them back to Canada. And on their way,
Williamstown had that happen to them?
and on their way, they stopped and camped in North Petersburg on one of the fields, I believe, of our farm, because it said it was where the little Hoosick and the big Hoosick met, was where they camped that night. And a baby was born that night, and they named it Captivity.
Now, did they get back again? Because I know I've been to Deerfield, and they have all the writings about many of the people.
I
Were
don't.
able to come back.
Some of them did, because the account I saw that was written by the chaplain, Christina Stevens, who used to be, she's dead now, but she was a historian in Hoosick Falls, and she had the pamphlet that was written by the chaplain, and that was his account that I have told you.
Well,
So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we were tied in with that.
yeah, we're tied in with that too. And this is is more of
Also.
North Petersburg. Of course, you've seen a lot of these pictures the other night. And this is the store in North Petersburg, and those are both a hotel that is no longer there, I believe.
Now, the store that was down around the corner, that's not still operative though? I mean,
No,
they're not
it's
operative.
just an abandoned
It was a
building
store
now.
at that time.
Mhm. And,
It's really quite a building.
yeah, yes.
Hope somebody that
And
needs-
this is where the railroad track went through North Petersburg. There's Dunnigan's store. This house is gone. It's no longer there. This is where Beatrice Brennan's stool lives.
Oh, okay. So this ran behind what's Dave's Country Store now,
Yeah.
between that
And the schoolhouse. Between that and what's now the church.
There's a
along
church
there.
up there now?
Yes, the schoolhouse was made into a church. There's a church
It's
there
still,
now. Oh, yes.
Oh.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
What denomination?
It's a Methodist church. This was Petersburg Junction, where the Rutland met the Boston and Maine.
And that was down behind where the church is, isn't it?
Yes, it was.
Sort of.
You go by our farm toward Hoosick, and
Oh, this is in North Petersburg.
this is in North
Oh,
Petersburg.
okay.
That's in North
the
Petersburg.
Petersburg Junction.
Petersburg Junction was in North Petersburg.
Now, trains then, it was a junction, so there were trains that went out, to Troy or Albany?
Oh, yes, there was a train that came from Williamstown, or North Adams, and went to Troy, and then there was a train that came from Bennington down and went to Petersburg, Berlin, Steventown to Chow.
Okay. The question that you brought up yesterday about the train, why the train stopped running, I answered out of my own sort of historical knowledge. Do you know why the train stopped running?
It wasn't business enough to keep them running. They didn't have enough freight, and then, of course, the passenger business was gone. The automobiles killed the passenger
Yeah, that's what
trains.
you said, yeah.
And then you had freight, but there weren't businesses enough along, and trucks came along, and
So it was what we were thinking.
So that must have been across the nation, the same reasons that the trains.
Mhm.
I would imagine so.
Must have hit the,
I think the last trains went through here, went through this part of Petersburg in 1953.
a little bit later than I thought.
Mhm.
And of course, they're still in North Petersburg.
Yeah.
The Boston and Maine still goes through North Petersburg.
That's right.
It goes to Guilford now, the Guilford.
To where? Where does it?
It goes from Mechanicville to Boston, I
It
believe.
goes from Mechanicsville. I imagined it came from Vermont.
No, it comes from Mechanicville, I think.
That?
Hmm.
Okay. That's that train, there's a train that comes through fairly near your farm, isn't
Yeah.
there?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's still operating.
That's still operating, yeah. But it's all freight.
Mm.
There's rarely a paddle. Occasionally, there may be a passenger train. One of the interesting trains that goes by there once a year is the circus train.
It goes through there? The Ringling Brothers?
The Ringling Brothers,
really?
Barnum and Bailey circus train goes through
Oh.
North Petersburg.
Well, the circus is coming to town. When does it go through?
Well, I don't, you never know. I never knew, but I've seen it lots of times. To go by
Oh,
some
yeah,
most
'cause you
beautiful
lived right
train.
here.
And it's silver colored, and you can see the animals, you know, the big necks
Oh,
of the
how
giraffe.
exciting.
Oh,
If only
wouldn't
we
that be
could know
nice?
when it was coming and
Well, you
be
know
there.
it's coming to town. Now, of course, they're going to Glens Falls. Would that train go up to Glens Falls?
That I don't know. I don't know about that, but I know it when they play, like in Springfield or over in Massachusetts someplace, and they come through North Petersburg. I don't know just when. I never knew when, but I often or several times saw it go by, and it really is an exciting sight.
Oh, I bet the children love that.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
And this is the road between Petersburg. This is the Dunnigan Farm up in North Petersburg.
Okay.
And there's the railroad station in Petersburg.
Now, this is down here.
This is down here.
Okay.
And there was the factory.
Which factory?
This was C.W. Reynolds manufactured shirts.
The shirt factory was right
Yep.
here, too, because wasn't there a shirt factory up, didn't
There
you
were
say
many.
right across, right over here, the
Yeah,
one that's burned out?
There was one there. And there was
Uh-huh.
one in the mill yard. There were several shirt factories
And
here.
there's a dress factory in the mill yard, too.
After they stopped making
That took
shirts.
over the shirt.
They
Okay.
So where exactly in North Petersburg is this?
No, this is Petersburg.
Oh, this is
down here.
Petersburg.
Hmm.
It's sort of behind the church. I mean,
Well,
isn't it
you know
down?
where the railroad bridge is? When you
Came
came
across
down,
it.
you crossed the railroad bridge, but you wouldn't know it was a railroad bridge anymore. But it's before you get to the garage, before you get to Jones's garage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a road down there, it's called Depot Road. And that goes down there, and that's where the depot was, and that's where the
Okay.
factory was.
And that road's still open?
Oh, yeah, people live down there.
Oh. and
Where
there's a
Edna
road.
Barnhart lives.
Where does
and
that road come off from?
It just comes off from, you turn, as you cross the railroad bridge, you turn
From
left.
here?
Yeah.
You turn left?
You turn right from here, you turn left
Oh,
coming down
okay.
into the village.
So on the other side of it from here?
Mm-hmm, turn right
Where
from
it
here.
goes? I'll have to look at that sometime. That's down where they...
And
they're
this building is still there. That building is still there.
Now,
and people
isn't this
live there.
back where they're making the new
Yes,
park?
they're making a new park down in there somewhere, I don't know
Friends of
exactly
Petersburgh,
where.
You know, the
Mhm.
Friends of Petersburgh. We've been trying to help get interest in people redoing houses and taking care of things like this burned out house. It must really frustrate you to see that continually being there.
It looks like there's somebody there right now on that dress.
There's somebody
They're
lives
working
there.
on it, they took down the roof.
Oh, they
Somebody-
are taking it down now? Because I know they've been under litigation.
Oh, yeah,
about
well,
it.
last Sunday, they had a group working on it. And I spoke to Mrs. Lewis, her name is, Monday morning, and she said that they had started to take it down and that they would be taking it down. And I said, I hope nobody gets hurt, because that's a dangerous proposition.
They're doing it themselves.
I believe so, themselves and their friends.
Station. That's this station.
And this is no longer operable. This is the creamery where the farmers brought their milk. You see
All
the
right, now
farmers
where was
brought
that
milk.
located? Was that up Hill Hollow?
Well,
Where was
it was, you cross the lower bridge and turn immediately left, and it was in back there.
Oh, it was behind the farmhouse in there. You know what we mean by Lower Bridge? I'm going to have to just ride her through when we leave. It's just right down the street, and it's not very far, a bridge, and then it's right on the other side of that bridge. Oh, okay. And I was right that the Lower Bridge burned out when the sawmill caught fire right next
That's
to it.
right. That's right.
And
You were
did
right.
it burn out one of the mills too, or was it just the sawmill? It burned out like the shirt factory or the
No,
dress factory?
it didn't burn up the shirt factory, no.
Okay.
And that
Sorry,
is a
train.
railroad wreck. And that is the account of it, I think, from the paper at the time.
And this is
And there's the Baptist church.
now what was this? This
Well,
road.
that was a road, I think it was the road that goes up to Johnny Cake Hill.
Is that where the reservoir is? Is that
Now, wait a
some-
minute, no, it wasn't. It's a reservoir. It's the road that goes up by the
It's
reservoir.
now Route
That's
2.
Route 2.
Okay, well, come look. This is where they used to sled down. This is what you said, you used to start
Right
up here,
downhill, yeah.
sled down here, and it would take you right around into the mill yard, which is right
Way
down
down
here. Isn't that beautiful? Now look at the open land, you don't see that now.
You remember I told the other night about C.W. Reynolds liked to take the pictures with clouds and...
Yes,
Well, you see,
he
there's
took
one of
this.
C.W. Reynolds' pictures. You always can tell them because a lot of the pictures don't have any clouds in, but C.W. always tried to get clouds in his pictures.
Now probably you used to see sheep and cattle up in this,
Oh, yeah,
right?
they did.
You told me also, but it was probably on the tape, what the farmers who are dotted around the hills, they not only were self-sustaining in food and things, but you said that they would do something extra, some other kind of work.
Look, on the roads, they worked on the roads.
Okay.
Is that what I said? I can't
I'm
remember.
not sure.
now.
But did they like have like down in Pennsylvania, some were weavers, some were blacksmiths, some did built furniture,
Well, I
things like
think,
that.
I think they probably did. I don't know exactly.
It was like they
but-
had their own
Yes,
cottage industry.
yes.
Yeah. Beautiful picture. And there's some more of this, right?
And now that is, this is Mrs.
sorry.
Palmetier's.
Oh, all right. That's this big house on the corner when you turn to come in.
That's Mrs. Palmetier's. This building is gone. This is a hotel that burned.
This is the hotel that you know so much about, and this is where the policeman stayed that you told me
No.
about. Oh no,
No,
where did
that's
he
a different
stay?
hotel.
Oh.
This was the Worthington Inn, and Aaron Worthington founded it, I guess, who gave the money for the churches. He gave the money, the land. He gave the land that the Baptist church was on and the land that the
Oh.
Methodist church was on.
Okay.
Aaron Worthington.
Oh.
And he had that inn there.
Now, this is the church.
That's
so
the
was
church.
this the doctor's house, or is this what's?
That
that-
is what is now the overhead, went right through that house.
So
Wait
that's
a minute.
gone.
No. Yes, that's right.
This house is gone.
That house is gone.
Okay.
Oh.
And it doesn't look like the opera house is there, or would
Well,
that
the
have been
opera
behind
house
it?
is kind of hidden in back there. It's there. but-
Behind this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying
And
to-
this house,
This is in North Petersburg.
isn't that a pretty house? Well, when you came by it when you came down, but it didn't look one thing like that.
No.
And you know Seward Hewitt, where Seward Hewitt
No.
lives? Well, that is Seward Hewitt's house. And all this part has been taken off, and the porch has been taken off, and the only thing that's left that you can identify it by is that window up there. You see that window up there?
that house, that's the way it looked?
Yes!
It looks like, oh, now I see it. It kind of looks like it was built in the Greek revival period. Am I right?
I don't
Or
know
was it an older
about
house
that.
Because
might
it
have
has the lines.
been- It was a beautiful
columns.
place, as I can remember it as a
It's so
child.
big in there.
Yes.
Now, this isn't the house that I was thinking it was.
Mm.
There's a house in North Petersburg. It's on the Green Road, Beyond the bridge, the railroad overpass, yeah, beyond the railroad tracks, if you're heading towards Hoosick.
Oh, you're thinking of Carlton FOPH, I think.
It looks a little bit like that, doesn't it? It has the
Well,
same kind of a
this
porch?
is, does Carlton FOPH's house have a porch on it?
Well, I'm not sure, but there's one house that, I'm not sure, maybe it's yellow. And it sits, the railroad tracks go along here, and then here's the road, and then there's the house, and if you know,
Maybe you think of Florence's, of Townsend's?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Name, but it's the
We had
one,
that problem with
the other night.
There.
Yeah, it was too bad Bill hadn't asked somebody newer than Hilda and me, because we didn't know who lived there now. Who knew who lived there?
It's funny,
And then a
isn't it?
man would say, well, now where's my house? Who
Yeah.
lives there now? He was trying to find his own. We didn't know what it was. It was awful.
I know somebody said they only knew 30% of the people who lived in Petersburg anymore.
Yeah, huh.
But no, do you know that farm, do you know Donald Hewitt's farm?
Yeah.
Well,
This is
his place, and then the farm is
Oh, okay,
on
I know
one
where
side,
you mean now.
and then this is the next
Yeah,
one down.
yeah, but it
Well,
looks
that's
like a
where
small
his son-
house now.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah.
like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we had the darndest time when my husband developed these pictures, which was a long time ago. Where that house was, it was such a nice looking, and Maplewood Farm didn't mean anything to us, and the house didn't. And then one day he was driving up to the farm in North Petersburg, and he looked up and he saw that window, and immediately he knew where this place was. I remember his coming in, so exciting. I found that place. And that's the Reynolds boarding house. That doesn't look the same now either, but it's
on the right as you come down, after your Swords farther on down.
yeah, I don't know the name of the people who run that, who live there now, but they have a lot of yellow bows and flags, and
That's
they're
right.
they're decorated. They're
You know that,
decorated
right.
for Halloween, and they're
Yeah.
They're fairly
decorated for
new.
Easter. Yeah, they're new
That
people.
used to be Bentley's, Charlie Bentley's.
That's right. It was Charlie Bentley's, and they always come here with their children on Halloween. And their children are all dressed up in really nice costumes,
Yeah.
and they come Halloween. But I don't know their name. They probably told
Yeah,
me.
that was a boarding house, or
Yeah, that was a boarding house.
when the people came out.
And
I don't have anything catching that.
this is where the Neaton boy lives. Terry Neaton lives there now.
Now, where's that?
It's
Not that
on the it's on the road that goes by Barbara's funeral home.
close. Okay, you know where that is?
Mm-hmm.
No, that
This
house
is,
is along there, and that's
This
one
must
of
have
the
been
old
taken in
cars.
the early 1900s,
Yeah, you can
right?
tell
My
by the
father
car.
had an old touring car.
Oh, really?
Have a picture
Yeah.
of something like that. Yeah.
And that's a picture of the Methodist Church before it had a steeple.
Right up here.
Yeah, and this is the Hewitt farm, which is on Hewitt Road, and the porch has been taken off. The house is a very handsome house, but it has no porch on it. It doesn't look just like that.
Hewitt Road is down below the
Cemetery.
Baptist church
Yeah,
and the
that one I
cemetery
know.
down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to live over on River Road. So
Oh,
I know
okay.
Hewitt
Yeah.
Road is.
Oh, I forgot what you did.
Those two roads, I know.
And that is, well, my nephew used to live there. The man's name is Goodermont now,
Mm-hmm.
Where
that
is
lives there. It's on the road toward Berlin, on the right.
Mm.
After you pass well, you turn off on Coonbrook Road. It's on Coonbrook
Oh,
Road,
that's
after
the
you
reason.
pass the factory.
Okay, that's why I did.
And this is, that is the building that was taken down for the post office to be put up.
The brick post office. It was taken down? Why did they do that?
Well, it had
Was it
fallen
in
into
bad shape?
disrepair. There's that house again.
Oh. So that's where the brick post office is.
That's,
Now, I don't remember, because I've been coming up here since before the brick post office was built. And I don't remember that house in there. I didn't remember
well,
there
it
was one.
had siding put on it, kind of gray colored siding. And the porch had been taken off, and it wasn't a very prepossessing looking house when it
Yeah,
was
it's
taken
pretty
down.
nice, too.
But it looked nice there, and that was, this is Carlina's here. Carlina Vincent, you know where
Oh,
Carlina
yeah,
Vincent
that's
lives? There's Marion Brown's, where Marion Brown lived.
That's a nice picture.
Isn't that
Children's
nice? You had that question about the children. She wanted to know, what did children do for fun?
We
What
had
kinds of
more
things-
fun, much more fun than the children do now.
Okay, so.
Oh, yes, I'm sure of it, than the village children do now. I know once they had a sign printed up by the post office, "Here lies Petersburg dead." Well, we never felt that way.
Who did that kind of design?
Some of these
Oh, you mean
youths
recently?
around here. Yes, not long
Oh.
ago, not long ago. Do you remember it? There was a sign up on
Didn't
the
remember seeing
the
it.
post office, "Here lies Petersburg dead."
Hmm.
We, in the winter, we would have our sleds and could skate. We could skate on the reservoir or skate on the dead hole. We had a lot more fun with gardening and picking berries. That was one of our big things in the summer. We'd get paid for going out and picking
Really?
strawberries or picking raspberries or
Little
picking
wild
currants.
strawberries?
How old were you when you got paid to do that?
Oh, probably 10.
Huh.
And we always had picnics, and we went to ball games. There were ball games over on the island. We went to ball games
What island?
religiously. Down and back here. Down and back here, there was a park like that they called the island. It's all grown up now,
Oh.
but that's
Well,
where
that's right,
it
you used
was
to have
then.
baseball games down in there.
We had baseball games down in there. Well, it may not sound very exciting to you, but we were always busy. We always
Yeah.
had things to do and other children to
Yeah.
play with.
Well, I think that's an important statement, that you were always busy.
Yeah,
I
we
think
were
that really
always.
is a big difference between then and now.
Uh-huh. I was explaining.
And we had our own things. We didn't just sit and watch television.
Right,
We were out doing things.
right.
Yeah, you made your own fun.
Yes.
I was explaining yesterday how if I went, and I'll bet this was part of your time, if I went visiting with my parents, they went to visit somebody, they said, take a book along, and they told me what chair to sit in, and I sat the whole time. Was that part of your upbringing too? I mean, did you
I don't remember
pretty much...
going visiting very much.
Well, it isn't that we did it that much, but I was there talking about the discipline of the children then. When your parents said to do something, you did it, right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Dale was saying, how did they make that happen that you would do it?
I don't know. Of course, the church played a big part in our life too. The Sunday school and the Christmas entertainment and Children's Day, and picking flowers and taking them to the church, for the church to be decorated for the services. Picking flowers was a big thing with us. Picking daisies and buttercups and lilacs and whatever we could find to pick them and take them to the church.
It really gave you a lot of jobs to do.
Yes.
And what kind of chores did you do around your house?
Well, my experience is probably different from most. You see, my father died when I was 4, and I lived in a house full of women. My mother, my grandmother,
That was
and
this
my
house.
aunt, right here. My mother and my grandmother and my aunt and my sister. My brother died when I was 10. But I don't remember that I had a great many chores to do around the house. I used to dust upstairs. I can remember that was one of the things I was supposed to do. But it was always considered more important for Victoria to study her French or to read something that I was reading than it was to have chores to do. I don't ever other than dusting upstairs and running errands. I ran countless errands because my grandmother and my aunt were old ladies, and it was always Victoria do this, Victoria do that. And my grandmother used to say I was the best darn young one to do errands she ever see. They were always sending me to the store or the post office or to a neighbor's house to take them something that she'd made for them, or countless errands that I did for them. But as for ever having mowed the lawn or anything like that, I never did.
Yeah, is that simply because there were so many people available to do work here?
And we had a man who did the men's work around him.
So your family had some money. that you were able to
Well,
hire.
they didn't build this house on
Yeah.
peanuts.
You can tell.
Yeah, so they were able to hire people to.
But
help
it
out.
wasn't much effort to hire people in those days. I can remember this man that used to work for us got 35 cents an hour.
Yeah. Well, that
Didn't
was the
require a
going
grade,
rate.
that's what he wanted. And then during the Depression, he had so much work that he thought he ought to lower his wages because he had more work than he could do.
Did you believe that?
And my mother said,
And that brings
Ernest,
more
that's the time you raise your rate.
That was really in reverse, because that brings more people.
He had more work than he could do, he ought to lower his wage. He wasn't the smartest man that ever lived, but he tended the fires, emptied the ashes. That was a big thing in those days. Took a lot of coal to keep this house. And then during the winter, he tended the fires and took out the ashes.
And you really
in the
needed
summer,
a man to do those.
yes,
those
my
jobs.
mother
I really
couldn't have
would
done them.
not, yeah.
And then in the summer, he mowed the lawn and tended the garden. We always had a garden, and the garden, they'd hire some farmer to come with his plow and plow it, and Ernest would plant it and tend the garden in the summer. And then I'd always pick things, you know, picking the produce was a big thing, going and getting some
Yeah.
corn and picking the berries. And,
Did you grow all your own food in the garden?
well, not all of it. Well, vegetables we could, and some fruit, but
Did you
we didn't
consider-
have any meat as far as, we didn't have any animals for meat or
You bought
anything.
meat.
Yeah.
Did you preserve food over?
Oh, yes, well, it was a big canning, pickling process, always going on all summer.
And then you did enough to last the whole winter for the whole family? Or did you have to
Oh.
buy?
Yes,
Yeah. That must have been quite a lot.
yeah, we made, canned peaches and berries and pears and apples and made mincemeat and all kinds of pickles, mustard pickle and bread and butter pickles and brine pickles and cellar
Mouth
full of
watering.
things. A cellar full of things for.
Oh, that's really wonderful. Look in the cellar and see all that stuff.
It isn't down there now.
No, too many people do
It's
that.
going to be in ours now.
It is?
Our son had enlarged the garden, and as a family project, that's their family and our family, he has ordered enough seeds to feed an army, I think. And we're having, Marty and I will be doing canning and freezing at the end of the time. We're working toward being self-sufficient.
Well, that is, the freezing is a lot easier than the
Yeah,
canning.
freezing is
They don't have all
easy.
that hot
It
water
is.
and
Yeah,
struggle with.
you can do some in the microwave.
Well, let's see where we are here. This is up where in Carlina's front yard, and that's Billy Reynolds' mother. Remember Billy Reynolds showed the pictures the other
Yes,
night? Bill
yes.
Reynolds, that's
That's
mother.
his mother as a little girl. Now, see, they
Yeah.
had a swing.
Yeah.
You want to know what they did?
And look at the girls shoveling
And
the
there was-
snow.
Oh, ladies out in the snow, and there's somebody's old car, I don't know just whose. And this was the Crandall house that was taken down behind the fence.
Where was that located? Is that right?
That
on
was
Main Street?
located about just in back of where Ziggy's store is. The road didn't go in back of Ziggy's store. It came in front of Ziggy's store, and then this was in back of Ziggy's store.
Now, this is the
And
one that was taken
it
down.
was-
The lumber was used by different people that
Yeah,
you told me
the
about.
3 houses were built out of the lumber from that
Look
house.
at these picket fences.
You know, we have picket fences and sidewalks.
How beautiful they were.
It was beautiful, really.
This is their
And that's this
Oh,
house.
When you're in.
my.
And this is the house next door. This is
Mhm.
Phoebe's. And this is the house over there, Cynthia's. And there's Mrs. England's.
Yeah. So this is the street.
Mhm.
As it
That's
were.
the street, right down
Now, you
there.
didn't have picket fences here
No,
on
we
this
didn't.
street.
No.
So
So
it was
which
in
is-
other places. I was thinking it was on this street.
So where is this house located?
This house is
This is
here,
this house.
and
Yeah,
this
but-
is the next house down.
Oh, okay, so is this the corner of the house?
Mhm.
I don't see
Yeah.
this here.
It's right here.
Oh. Oh,
That's
okay.
Phoebe's
that.
garage, and
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
there.
okay. Oh, that's beautiful. So now
Isn't
there's a
that beautiful?
field across from it, so.
This was open.
The road took so much less.
Because this looks like it goes down into the creek from here.
It does.
So where did that
It
field
looks like
come
this
in?
is taken sort of uphill, isn't it?
Well, the road was narrower. The garden wasn't there. That must have been part of the, over there, and then it goes down toward the creek.
Oh, so maybe this is coming right, maybe somebody's
Yeah,
standing
it looks
down
down,
there.
it's
Yeah,
down
I
a
see
little.
now. It's not really
Because
a
it looks
field.
like it's
And that is Mrs. England's house, the second house below here.
Oh, that's
And there, they had a
that's
picket fence.
pretty. Isn't this nice?
that a pretty
now,
house?
did she see the picture before she redid it? 'Cause
Oh, yes, I had
She's
the
redone
picture
this,
enlarged.
hasn't she?
I had the picture enlarged and gave it to her as soon as I knew
Has
she
she
was going to
restored it?
restore it.
now that's what's happened in here for you to know. One by one, people, and it seems to be younger people, I mean younger than I am, are buying the houses and restoring them. And there's some really beautiful, like the Taylors. You've been in Brandon and Gunda's?
No, I've never in my life been in that house, all the years I've lived here.
Well, I should take you across and have you go. But this woman used to live in Williamstown, and she has that shop over there that has all the pottery and jewelry in. Yes.
And where is her shop? I don't know where her shop
It's
is.
not on Spring Street, but it's the
Water
next street
Street.
down.
Water Street. I thought it was probably on Water
It's on the
Street.
left-hand side as you go in. So, and then, then there's somebody else who's done a nice job down there. Oh, it was when Amy and her husband
Yes,
lived there.
yeah.
They've restored that house.
Yeah.
And have moved down to Burn since. But that's the kind of thing that Friends of Petersburgh are hoping to generate this pride. You know, if everybody kept their place like Victoria. But it's
And this is up in Hill Hollow, in East Hollow.
okay.
It's up in East Hollow.
Okay.
You turn off Route 2.
Oh, and that's the road that
after
goes up
Clarence
past that.
Hills, you know, then you go, and that's off Route 2. And that's a close-up view of that house there. That's that
Oh,
house
of this
there.
house. Okay.
And this is on River Road, no, not River Road, Dayfoot Road. That is where, it's burned now. That house is no longer there. But another house was put there by the Perks, where the Perks live. Opposite
Dayfoot's
the,
up above
opposite
River.
opposite the furniture restoring place,
Oh,
where Howard Walters restores
right,
furniture.
yeah,
Before you
okay.
get there on the hill is that house. And that's that little bridge that's
Right.
beyond.
this is the house that comes
Yeah.
over there and it winds around.
And this is Weaver Dam up, and
That's what you were asking. Where was the dam?
the dam is
Oh,
up
it was up above near Weaver.
near
Weaver
Weaver.
Dam Road.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a nice dam.
Aren't those nice pictures?
Oh.
Oh, who took these pictures? Your husband?
No. The pictures, there was a group of men who were interested in photography. I believe maybe they had a club. I don't know.
Oh.
But there was C.W. Reynolds and Hezzy Crandall and Ed Brown and Jay Teft, and I guess there were probably others that took the pictures. They had great big cameras, you know, on glass plates,
slides, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
heavy as
And then your
tin.
husband transferred them to,
Then,
Right.
after these different men died, their wives were left with all these glass plates, and they didn't know what to do with them. And they didn't want to destroy them, and they didn't want to keep them necessarily. They were going to move on to other places, and they were a problem to know what to do with. So, Fred Hewitt finally ended up with them all. He had all this big collection. There were over 4,000 of them, of glass plates. Now, you may be interested in this. And my brother-in-law, Dr. Sweet, realized the historical value of these pictures. And so he bought all those glass plates. Well, then he was in the same spot as everybody else's. What was he going to do with them? He didn't want to take them to his home in Peekskill. They belonged in Petersburg. So, you know who took the glass plates. And were they ever a burden to me? I had them here for a while, and that was fine. But then I moved up to the farm in North Petersburg. And I didn't want to leave these things here in case somebody broke into the house and they were vandalized or something, so I took them. It was not easy. It took trip after trip after trip. All I could carry, there were 4,000 of these heavy glass plates in boxes. Well, the boxes were, well, I suppose they were as big as these pictures,
glass,
weren't
so that
they?
much
And they were
glass.
in boxes. They were in boxes. Probably maybe 10, 12 in a box.
What?
So I took them to North Petersburg, and I had them up there for a long time. And then I had to move them back here when I came back here. And then I did a foolish thing. I put them in the cellar. I had them, but I didn't know where to put them because I was afraid if the roof should leak and it would damage them. And it seemed as though the cellar was safer, but it wasn't because it was too damp. But they were there for quite a few years. And then I didn't know what to do with them. I thought I ought to give them to the town, and the town hall burned. I thought, well, maybe I ought to give them to the church. Maybe the church could house them and look after them. The church was run into by a truck, and then eventually that burned. So they were safer with me all these years than they would have been with anybody else. And one day I saw Lloyd Hewitt, and I asked him what he thought I ought to do with these. Well, he took them and he cleaned them up. He took them out of the boxes. And, of course, they'd gotten dusty, and they weren't in very good shape, I guess. But anyway, he took them. And then he arranged for me to give them to the Bennington Museum. So they're all in the Bennington Museum now.
Wonderful. So that was how my husband got involved with some of these plates through Lloyd. Remember I was telling you about that?
Right.
Yeah, because Lloyd, we lived in the house that was the Garden Jones house.
Oh, yes.
And Lloyd owned that house after
Yes, he did.
after Byron's wife moved to the nursing
Yeah.
home. So we rented from Lloyd, and my husband was a photographer at the time. So Lloyd approached him about the glass plates and
Yeah, well, it was a problem for us to know what to do with them. It was a problem for me. I just got desperate with it because I thought, here I have these things, and just benign neglect wasn't enough because they were deteriorating.
Yeah. So what is the
And,
museum? Did they have special arrangements for them?
They have,
Yeah,
as
they're
I understand them,
protected.
they've all been cleaned up, and each glass plate has been put in an envelope by itself, and they're all labeled.
Oh, so they'll be in good shape.
Now, I don't know if, I have never tried to get in touch with them, to go and ask for any particular one, but I believe they're to be classified according to automobiles or houses or bridges or whatever, and that people can go and they can get them. He said the other night they could get them, if you wanted a copy of one of them, you could go to the museum and get them.
The museum does that for you, you mean?
Well, that's,
Or you do it yourself?
oh no, I think he said it cost $3.
$3
And then for what? Then they give you a print?
for the
Yeah.
print,
Oh, that's wonderful.
isn't it? But isn't it
I don't mean that all
marvelous
4,000 plates were of Petersburg, because as the men traveled, they took pictures too. And C.W. Reynolds, the one who took the ones with the clouds, he traveled a lot in Europe. So some of the pictures are Paris or Berlin or European scenes.
Yeah.
They aren't all Petersburg, and they're also Bennington scenes and
Yeah.
Troy scenes, but a lot of them are Petersburg scenes.
But they were taken by residents of Petersburg,
Yes,
so they're
they
part
were.
of the Petersburg history
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
That's great that they,
Isn't
they
it
found a
great?
good home that they didn't get destroyed. So much of our history gets destroyed
Yeah.
without anybody realizing that it's happening, or sometimes they
Well,
realize
it was
it
very
and don't do anything
fortunate in a
about it.
way that those women all chose Fred Hewitt to take their glass plates,
Yes.
and he had them up in his attic. And I can remember my brother-in-law carried them down from his attic to Willard's car and brought them down here. Trip after trip up to those attic steps, trip after, well, it was a job. When you think now the little cameras people have, and
Yeah.
film doesn't take up any space or weigh anything compared to those huge, heavy plates. I bored you with
No,
that.
are you
Oh,
kidding?
this is
is
so
great. I just gotta
interesting.
pull a chair
Now, I
in.
never knew how that was. Yeah, why don't you come in between us?
Here, yeah. Now, there were two bridges here, the lower bridge and the upper
Really?
bridge.
This is so pretty in here.
That's
Is this
that's by
under
the upper
bridge?
bridge, the upper
Mhm.
dam, yeah. And that was a raceway. The water used to go along there to a mill wheel over here. And
Now, what kind of mill was back then?
of grist, no,
And that was
grain.
grain. Okay.
So that served the local farmers? Did they sell it? Did they ship it on the trains to New York and
Oh, I
whatnot?
presume so.
And that wasn't the only one. It also was the
Petersburg started originally, was
It's a
originally
mill.
called Retzler's Mills because of the water power. You see, the river had a lot of falls and a lot of
Petersburg
water
was
power.
called Rensselaer's Mills.
Rensselaer's Mills.
How long ago was that? Was that in the
Oh,
1700s?
that was probably in 1700 or long in there.
I haven't seen that anyplace.
You haven't?
No. I read all the things that are in the library, and I haven't seen it.
Do they have a landmarks of Rensselaer County?
They should, but maybe it is in there.
I think it's in there.
They do have. I didn't.
Well, that's
Now these
what-
are the covered bridges we were
Mhm.
talking about yesterday. This is like, is this out of the mill? Coming
Yeah,
out
I
the
guess
side?
that's what's coming down, the water that's been through the mill wheel.